Namaste. I hope you are all healthy and fit and happy. Sending my blessings and light to all of you. In this video, I'll be discussing about the yogic food, the yogic diet, what all the understandings are based on food, how food is associated with the prana, how this prana is assimilating food in throughout the various body parts and how the body forms. So, all of these understandings we will see on the basis of food in yogic texts, in yogic lifestyle. Now, food is a very important principle in yogic journey. Why it is an important principle? Because it helps us to be in the path, to do the practices. If our food is not conducive, which is creating disturbance in the physical body, in the mental body, it can be problematic in the yogic practices and can create some problems in your body or psychic state. So, it is very important to understand what is the construction, from where this food comes, what is the philosophical idea behind this thought, behind food, and how to apply this principle in our life to practice yogic diet. Now, there are various concepts given in yogic scriptures about food. Ayurveda has a different concept. Philosophical viewpoint on food has a different concept. Yogic diet is a completely different concept. So there is differences in all these diets. Now we have to see what is our role, what is our practice, and based on that we have to choose the food, whether we are imbalancing the doshas from the Ayurvedic point, whether we are balancing the gunas from the philosophical point, or whether we are going on a deeper sadhana, on a spiritual practice, on a yogic path, and then accordingly choose those foods. Before going on to those things, let us understand what is the role of food, how food plays an important part in development of our physical body, our emotions, our thoughts, our mind. Because it is given a highly important that food, what you eat, you become that, you think like that, because the whole energy is generating from the food what you are eating. So your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, your sensations, your physical body, your way of seeing things, relating, your speaking, your body language, all of those comes from the food what we eat, and we do not give that importance because we do not know how food plays an important role in our life. So it is very important to know what kind of food, when to eat, how much to eat. When we know all of those things, we can help ourselves in what we are looking for from our path, from our journey, to make it more simpler and easier and more effective. So what is yogic diet? So yogic diet is seen as which is conducive for you on the path. So whatever helps you on the path, whether to meditate, whether to move, whether to go on a spiritual walk, whatever food is conducive for that part is seen as the yogic diet. In yoga or in yogic scriptures, they have mentioned particularly few concepts as mitahara and yukta vihara ahara. Mitahara is the concept where you have to eat food which is balanced and sweet, which is not heavy on the body. Yukta vihara is the food which one has to consider by chewing it in four ways and then assimilating in a way that it uh, balances your thoughts, means it creates a better positive approach from your mind. Your thought becomes more positive and you have more better expressions through body also when you are following that principle. So these two principles are given very important aspect, yukt vihar ahara and mita ahara. So also it is given as the food is seen as the Brahma, means that ultimate source. We come here to feed ourselves on food. And when we go back, we leave this body as food for the earth. So What we eat, we become also that, and that's what we leave when we leave this body. Now food has a very intimate connection with your mind. The food is formed from the subtlest portion, what is digested, what is left over, what the juice is taken out, that creates your thoughts and mind. Food, when consumed in the right way, with the right attitude, with the right mindset, even if the food quality is different, but still when you eat with that, it will create a better feeling and emotions inside the head, which we do not give importance in our life. We are always eating food by not giving a thought, by not putting the right intentions, by not making our own food, by not growing our own food, which is very difficult, which we understand in this time. We cannot do all those things because our life is not supporting. But at least giving a mind, giving a prayer, giving an acknowledgement to that food, calming yourself, doing a pranayama before starting your meal, taking a pause, eating slowly. These are simple practices which you can cultivate to have a better energy from food, so that we have a better thoughts, so that we have better mind. Like food creates mind. So what we think, what we act, what we believe, what we do, it all comes from the food what we eat. And you can see the differences amongst people and then see what food they are eating and their behavior. So it has a very strong effect on our behavior, what we eat. As food is assimilated in the body, gets digested, gets break down, supplies through over the body, turns into various dhatus, which feeds the body in muscles, tissue, bones, sexual energy, all that comes from the food, and that's what makes us. As ojas or shukra, which is seen as the highest important source which comes out from the food, after going through all the process, after 21 days of what we have eaten and assimilated, that creates the highest source of energy, which is the reproductive fluid, which is the creative fluid from where we can create that life source. Similarly, it is seen in the example of milk. So when you turn milk into a curd, or curd into a butter, or butter into ghee, as you do the process, do the filter process, do the whole movement related to that, it turns into ghee, the highest form of milk. Similarly, the shukra, the reproductive fluid, is seen as the highest form of energy which we could create, and that also creates our mind, intellect, and ego. So there in the scriptures they have said four ways to eat. The food which we are consumed are taken into four ways. We gulp the food, we suck the food, we chew by teeth the food, and we lick the food. You might have seen many people licking their fingers after food, many people taking air in between, many people chewing very slowly, at least 32 times. So all of these are given a ways to create rasa. When the food is been done in these four ways, it creates the best rasa. Now rasa is that plasma which is supplied throughout the body. When this plasma is supplied throughout the body, it turns into blood. After turning into the blood, it goes and processes into the muscles. Through the muscles, it turns into the tissues as meda. Through meda, it turns into asti as bone. Through bones, it turns into bone marrows as maja. And then the bone marrow turns into the shukra, which is seen as the reproductive fluid, the most important source. Now, this rasa, how did I created that rasa? By chewing the food into four ways: by licking, by gulping, by sucking, and by chewing properly, which feeds your mind, your intellect, and your ego. Suppose we do not do this process correctly. Suppose we do not choose the food correctly. It will affect straight away into our mind, intellect, and ego. So it is important to do this process to have a better mind, to have a better intellect, so that we are able to be on the right path and associate ourselves in a very positive way, which helps us into the spiritual path. And whatever is left is gone through out as form of sweat, as form of urine, as form of stool, and also form of CO2 when we exhale out. These are the waste what lefts out after the whole food is been absorbed. Now whole this process is done through the help of pranas. Without pranas, it will not be associated properly. Prana plays an important role to assimilate these dhatus, these sapt dhatus, seven dhatus, which forms the whole physical body from food, plays a very important part. If there is an imbalance or blockages in prana, the energy will not be supplied properly, and that is why it is recommended to do pranayama or breathing practices or movement practices to remove any kind of impurities which are present in the pranas. We know there are five pranas. So these five pranas are situated all over the body. So when we eat food, the prana takes in through the esophagus, goes into the abdomen, in the stomach, where samana is residing. Now, samana is the prana which breaks down the food, which is related to the fire. When the food is break down, it is spreaded through over all over the body with the help of vyana. So vyana has the role which supplies throughout the body. After supplying throughout the body, the waste is gone out through the help of apana vayu, which is gone outside through the rectum. And the udana vayu helps to create your emotions, thoughts, intellect, and other aspects. So this is how it is related, the food assimilation with the prana. And it all depends on the rasa. That rasa, how we are eating, when we are eating, and what we are eating, which is very important to know. When, how, and what. When we know this, it forms the right rasa, the right lubricant, which is lubricating the whole system from your head to toe. Every part, every single organ, organ or cell is been feeding through this rasa. And this rasa is formed on what, how, and when we eat. Now, how much to eat, right? So, the stomach you can divide into four parts. The first two parts has to be filled with food. The 1/4 part has to be filled with water, and 1/4 part has to be left empty, without food and without water, as in the form of air. So the food can circulate, movement can break down easily, so the samana can do its role properly. If the food is too much, samana will take more time to break down the food and to assimilate also food, and that is why whenever we eat too much we feel lethargy, we feel lazy, and whenever we eat less we feel more energy, because that is the reason the body is consuming energy to digest, to break down the food. Though there are various timings mentioned in the scriptures when to eat, how much to eat, different scriptures have a different teachings related to that depending on what practice you are doing. Now food is not very specific that you can choose this, like if someone tells you and you eat that, it is not like that. You have to see the geographical conditions, you have to see your psychological state. You have to see what kind of practices you see, and then you choose food accordingly. So here is some of the foods which is very commonly prescribed as to keep your sattvic diet. Now, what is sattvic diet? There is three types of diet in a philosophical view, which is sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. Sattvic is the diet which helps you to grow, to develop, to bring light, to follow onto your journey, onto your path, which is easy. Now, rajasic food is something which is very heavy, which which is too in motion, which is too much rajasic. And tamasic food is something which is very makes you lazy. So you might know what are these different types of sattvic food. So mostly sattvic food is considered as white and yellow. So whatever these white and yellow foods would be there is seen as the sattvic food. Food which are yellow and reddish in color can be seen as the rajasic food. And tamasic food which is very dark, means dark in color, heavy in color. So that is tamasic food. On the yogic path, definitely it helps the sattvic food. So sattvic food can be seen as cucumber, all green leafy vegetables, potatoes, all honey, all these leafy vegetables, most of the fruits are seen as the sattvic food. Rajasic food is seen as meat, chicken, fish, tamarind, pickles, mustard, all of these things, coffee, tea is seen as Rajasic food. And tamasic food is seen as onions, garlics, beef, wine, alcohol, stale, old food. All of these are seen as the tamasic food. So you have to see what is your path, what is your practice, and choose the foods accordingly, and remembering to create the right rasa. If you are able to create right rasa, then the food is assimilating properly with the help of pranas, and your mind, your thoughts, your intellect, your ego remains balanced and helps you into the path of practice. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and be conscious, be aware what you eat, how you eat, and when you eat. Though everyone would have a very different diet and routine, so there is nothing like fixed or what is the right. The right only has to be seen according to the time, the place, and your body type.